In the summer of 1961, mysterious events took place on a high mountain in northern Spain. 4 young girls between the ages of 11 and 12 were taken up into ecstatic raptures. During these raptures, they experienced visions of great future events and received messages from the Virgin Mary and St. Michael the Archangel. Between 1961 and 1965, they experienced over 2,000 of these apparitions. While enraptured, the girls exhibited unexplainable physical characteristics. They did not feel pain when needles were pushed into their skin or when they were touched by lighted matches. They were unaware of the spectators around them. When not in ecstasy, the girls continued to live their normal lives as peasant farmers and shepherdesses. Great events were foretold during these ecstasies, events that yet remain to happen. Now, almost half a century after the apparitions, the world awaits the first of the 4 prophesied events. It is called aviso in Spanish. In English, it is known as the warning. At various times, the girls described this supernatural event that would be seen and felt by everyone in the world. 3 of the visionaries have given testimony about the warning over the years.
During 1972 and 1973, Conchita made 2 interviews about Garabandal. From these interviews, excerpts are here presented to show what she said about this warning.
Now, about the warning. Well, this warning seems to preoccupy me. I'd like very much to know all I can about it, what it will consist of, and where will it occur.
The lady said that she was going to give us the best remedies to help us live good lives. And this warning was for the whole world. It will be felt all over. Garabandal, America, the whole world.
Will we all know it as a warning?
Yes, everyone will see it. Feel it. You will feel alone in the world before your sins and all your miseries, and have a chance to amend your life. It will be a terrible feeling. You'll suffer terror, but without physical pain.
Will I feel the warning in the house?
Yes.
Or in the street?
Yes.
Whether in Russia or Africa?
Yes, that's right.
In other words, all over the world?
That's right.
Whether Protestant, Catholic, or Jewish?
Yes, everyone will feel it. Everybody in a different way. It will be felt in all countries by people of all religions.
Will anyone die from the warning?
No, only if it is by shock.
No. In other words, there will be no physical pain or damage.
No.
There is something else that interests me, and that is the warning that will occur before the miracle. Here is an unusual picture. Sometimes when you mention the warning, you would say that it was like a starburst.
That was an example.
What will occur on the day of the warning?
The most important thing about the warning is that every person, everyone in the whole world will see a sign, a grace, or a punishment within themselves, in other words, a warning. They will find themselves all alone in the world, no matter where they are at the time, alone with their conscience right before God. They will then see all their sins and what their sins have caused.
Let me see if I understand this correctly. One of these days I'm going to feel the warning. No matter where I am, I'm going to feel it.
Any place you are.
If I am in the house or in the street, or if I am in Russia or in Puerto Rico or Santo Domingo or Spain or Cuba, no matter where I am, I will feel this warning.
You will feel it.
Who will feel this warning? Catholics, Protestants, Communists, Jews?
Everyone that lives in the world.
Will we all feel it at the same time?
Yes, at the same time.
So everyone will feel it at the same hour? How long will it last?
I don't know how long it will last. However, everyone is going to feel it differently.
Will it last a half hour? Will it last an hour?
I really don't know. I think that 5 minutes would be an adequate time.
How will we feel it?
We will all feel it differently because it will depend on our conscience. The warning will be very personal. Therefore, we will all react differently to it.
This is amazing. One day I will be alone in the world with nothing around me except God and my sins?
Yes.
Will something happen to me because of my sins? I mean, will physical harm come upon me as a result of my sins?
No, unless it's something that results from the shock, for example, a heart attack.
Nothing like fire or pain?
No.
No physical harm then, so it'll consist of facing God alone with my sins. How about the good things? Will I see them also?
No. This will be only a warning to see what you have done with your sins. It will be like a purification before the miracle to see if with this warning and the miracle we will be converted.
This will happen before the miracle.
Yes, before the miracle.
So this can occur any day now.
Yes, but I don't know the date when it will occur.
There's supposed to be a warning. What is the purpose of this warning?
It's a purification, I know, because it's supposed to be you notice your the faults, your own faults, and how much we've been offending God and the things that we do wrong, and to feel sorry for it.
Will everyone feel this warning at the same time?
Everybody's supposed to feel it, doesn't matter where they are in the whole world.
Even little children?
Yes, everybody they will feel it in their own, the different will be, the children they will feel it as a children's, because they're feeling, there will be a lot like inside, how they see the things.
And how will they feel it? Will it be something that you can see, or will it just be an interior feeling?
There will be an interior feeling, but I don't know if you, not remember too good if anything there will be in the exterior too, because I remember something they say like everything stop. It will be like for a moment, everything will stop. Everybody will notice how much we offended God. You will see the inside the oneself, the things that we do wrong.
Everything will stop?
They will stop that, but I don't know exactly. I just remember this word. It's like everything will stop.
You mean like even planes in the air?
No, I know asked that question like that, because I not thought about it in that time.
Well, what will people feel at that moment? Will they see their sins?
Yes, so each one they will feel, depending how the person is, they will feel frightening, they will feel very sad, because they recognize the things, they can see the things that they do wrong, very clear.
Will it be painful? Will it cause, could people possibly die from this?
I don't know. I really don't know if that will happen.
But would it be like a painful thing for a person?
Yes. I think it will mean they have to be a painful thing, because if we see what we doing wrong and how much we're offending God very clearly, we feel it in ourselves, inside us. I think it will be very painful.
You once said that before the warning, communism would dominate the world. Did the Blessed Mother tell you this?
Yes.
And what do you mean when you say dominate the world?
Well, I don't know exactly. The words it was they would take over of the world.
The communists would take over the world.
The world.
And it would be every place, as far as you know?
As far as I know, that's what I thought, but at that time my knowledge it was not too far of the world.
But the impression that you got was that it was, as a child, what you saw then, you thought it was everywhere.
Yes.
And what will happen during this tribulation? Will there be a persecution?
Well, she said that it will be very hard for the priest to say mass, for the people to practice the religion. And the priest, if they find out that they are priests, they will be persecuted.
And you also said that the churches would have to be closed. Is that right?
Yeah, they will be closed because they will not allow the people to go to the priest to say mass or to the people to go there.
And you don't know how long this tribulation will last?
No.
Will the warning, what will stop it? Will the warning stop it?
I don't know. I don't know how much later after that the warning happened.
The main visionary, Conchita, has made declarations about the warning.
The warning is a thing that comes directly from God and will be visible throughout the entire world in whatever place anyone might be. The warning will be like a revelation of our sins. It will be seen and experienced equally by believers and non-believers and people of any religion whatsoever. The warning is like a purification for the miracle. It is a sort of catastrophe. It will make us think of the dead. That is, we would prefer to be dead rather than to experience the warning. The warning is something supernatural and will not be explained by science. It will be seen and felt. The warning will be a correction of the conscience of the world. For those who do not know Christ, they will believe it is a warning from God. The most important thing about that day is that everyone in the whole world will see a sign, a grace, or a punishment within themselves. In other words, a warning. They will find themselves all alone in the world, no matter where they are at the time, alone with their conscience, right before God. They will then see all their sins and what their sins have caused. We will all feel it differently because it will depend on our conscience. The warning will be very personal, therefore we will all react differently to it. The most important thing will be to recognize our own sins and the bad consequences of them. Your experience of the warning will be different from mine because your sins are different from mine. This will be a warning to see what you have done with your sins. It will be like a purification before the miracle to see if with the warning and miracle we will be converted. The Virgin told me that before the miracle, God will be sending us a warning so as to purify us or prepare us to see the miracle, and in this way we may draw enough grace to change our lives toward God. It is a phenomenon which will be seen and felt in all the world and everywhere. This phenomenon will not cause physical damage, but it will horrify us because at that very moment we will see our souls and the harm we have done. It will be as though we were in agony, but we will not die by its effects, but perhaps we will die of fright or shock to see ourselves. No one will have doubts of it being from God and of its not being human. I, who know what it is, am very much afraid of that day. The Virgin told us that the warning and miracle will be the last warnings or public manifestations that God will give us. This is why I believe that after them we will be near the end of time. To me, it's like two stars that crash and make a lot of noise and a lot of light, but they don't fall down. It's something that's not going to hurt us, but we're going to see it. In that moment, we're going to see our conscience. You're going to see everything wrong that you're doing and the good you're not doing.
The visionary Loli has stated,
Everyone will experience it, wherever they may be, regardless of their condition or knowledge of God. It will be an interior, personal experience. It will look as if the world has come to a standstill. However, no one will be aware of that, as they will be totally absorbed in their own experience. It is going to be something like an interior feeling of sorrow and pain for having offended God. God will help us to see clearly the harm we are causing Him and all the evil things we do. He will help us to sense this interior pain because often when we do something wrong, we just ask the Lord's forgiveness with our lips. But now, through the warning, He will help us sense physically that deep sorrow.
the visionary Jacinta has stated,
The warning is something that is first seen in the air everywhere in the world and immediately is transmitted into the interior of our souls. It will last for a very little time, but it will seem a very long time because of its effect within us. It will be for the good of our souls in order to see in ourselves our conscience the good and the bad that we've done.
Okay, we're here in Oxnard, California. Today it's April 16th, 1983, for an interview with Jacinta Moynihan. Jeff, her husband, is going to be kind enough to be our translator. So we will begin the questions. The first question is for Jacinta. Can you still remember what the Blessed Virgin looked like?
Jacinta, ¿puedes recordar cómo fue la Virgen en su aspecto?
Sí.
¿Cómo? Yes, she says yes, she can
Sí,
remember.
pues como con el vestido, ¿cómo venía vestida en el aspecto?
Pues su cara, por ejemplo, ¿cómo fue? ¿Guapa?
Oh, sí.
Pues sí, eso, fue guapa.
Oh, sí, la recuerdo como, pues como una persona que jamás se puede olvidar.
Yeah, she remembers her as somebody that you can never forget. Very beautiful person.
Here is a picture of Our Lady of Perpetual Help. Didn't you once say that the pictures of the Virgin that you saw, of all the pictures of the Virgin that you saw, this one reminded you the most of her?
¿Recuerdas que esta Virgen fue un poco parecido or no?
No.
No, she didn't remember that she looked this way as this picture.
Well, see, we remember that when Jacinta visited us in New York, Joey had a big painting of Our Lady of Perpetual Help, this particular painting, and people remember Jacinta saying that was the look that...
Oh, the look on the face, like the expression.
Or maybe the expression in the eyes.
A lo mejor recuerda un poco en los ojos porque es como los ojos como bondad, pero la cara es muy gorda esta.
She says that she remembers it real well because the eyes, says this eyes of this Virgin here has a very compassionate look, you know, very kind. That reminds her of the kindness in the eyes of the Blessed Virgin, but since the face of this Blessed Virgin is a little bit fatter than the one the way she saw her, so in that sense, physically, the face is not that similar, but the eyes are similar in their look. You know, that way there's a similarity.
What about this one?
¿Y esto, Jacinta, es mejor?
No, peor eso.
Peor? So that one's worse. But, you know, I mean worse in the sense that it's not in resemblance.
Not as close, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
Okay, very good. Can you describe the crown that Our Lady wore at Garabandal and the crown that the infant wore? And did you ever count the number of stars on the Virgin's crown?
¿Puedes decir algo sobre la corona de estrellas de la Virgen? ¿Cómo fue la corona?
Como
Estrellas?
de estrellas venían así, de 12 estrellas.
She says that the crown was round, like she motioned, of 12 stars.
It was 12?
12. ¿Fue 12?
Sí, 12.
You counted
¿Has contado?
Sí, por eso
Yeah,
cada vez que veo una virgen lo primero que hago es contar las estrellas.
Yeah, she said, yeah, they counted them, there were 12, and she says that's why whenever she sees this type of a statue of the Blessed Virgin with a crown on, she counts them to see if there's 12, because that's the way it should be.
Were they, this is a fine detail, I don't know, were they 6-pointed stars or 5-pointed stars?
¿Recuerdas cuántos puntos tuvo cada estrella? ¿Fue como de 5 puntos o 6?
Yo creo que 5. Yo creo que 5.
She believes that there were 5.
Cinco.
You know, she believes that there were 5-pointed stars.
Now, wasn't it true that the crown was open? It wasn't a complete closed circle, but was it open and come out from the temples like this?
Fue abierto, ¿no?
Sí, porque a veces nos las poníamos nosotros.
Yes, he said yes, it was open. He said that sometimes they were able to put it on themselves. That the Blessed Virgin allowed them to put it on themselves.
But did it go straight up, or was it like this way, sort of out like on an oblique? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No fue completamente arriba, they told her. No, fue un poco
nada más
enfrente.
así.
Yeah, she said it was a little bit so in the front, coming out a little bit. It wasn't straight up over. It was sort of slanted forward a little bit.
I see. Very good. Now there was a pattern or design on the Virgin's dress. Can you describe what the design was like?
En el vestido de la Virgen fue un dibujo. ¿Puedes decir cómo fue el vestido?
Pues sí era blanco con dibujos como flores, pero no se notaba mucho el dibujo, nada más había como un dibujo, pero no muy marcado.
She said that the dress was white and that it had like flowers on it, and that the design, this pattern of flowers was there, but it wasn't real strong, you know, but it was sort of faint. and the pattern, but it was of flowers on a white dress.
Were they big flowers or small
grandes,
flowers?
Flores grandes or pequeños?
No, ni pequeñas ni grandes.
They were neither real large or real small, sort of intermediate size.
Okay. Can you... the Virgin wore no belt, is that right?
No tuvo cinturón, no?
No.
No, she didn't have it.
No.
Can you describe the light that surrounded Our Lady? Were there rays of light, or was it just very bright? And were there any hues of color?
¿Cómo fue la luz en los alrededores de la Virgen? ¿Fue como rayos o cómo fue? ¿O colores? Or...
No sé, era muy brillante, era una luz muy brillante que no molestaba, pero yo no me fijaba en los colores de la luz, nada más miraba a la Virgen, nada más veía que había mucha luz.
She noted that there was a lot of light, so it was very bright. But she didn't notice if there were colors in it or not, because she was putting her attention into the appearance of the Blessed Virgin herself. But she didn't notice there was a bright light around her and behind her, you know.
Nada más veía cuando, por ejemplo, era de noche, todo era de día.
Yeah, so especially at night, if it was apparition at night, she noticed everything was so bright, it was like day during night, you know. So that was one thing she noticed very much, you know.
But she didn't see rays of light, she just saw
no has visto rayos de luz.
No sé si eran rayos, solamente era una claridad muy grande, con una luz muy grande.
She doesn't recall especially rays of light, but she just knew it was a great brilliance.
Yo no recuerdo porque no me fijaba en...
But she didn't notice in such small details, you know, like trying to analyze in the background.
But could she see anything in the background? Like, could she see on the fringe of this vision, could she see the trees, say, by the pines, or anything like that?
Pues ver algo más, por ejemplo, atrás de la Virgen, como los árboles, nada más que luz.
Nada más luz, en todas partes luz, ella redondara nada más la Virgen y luz.
So no, all she could see was the Blessed Virgin herself and light. Everywhere she looked, it was just bright light and the Blessed Virgin. So it was only the Blessed Virgin and light, nothing else. Anything from the outside was not seen.
The Virgin came to Garabandal as Our Lady of Mount Carmel and had the scapular on her wrist during the apparitions. Do you know what it was? Did you know what it was when you first saw it?
Cuando la Virgen apareció con el escapulario en su mano, ¿sabías qué es escapulario la primera vez?
Pues sí, porque yo sabía que era escapulario porque siempre, como dicen.
¿Qué? ¿Porque tuvo el aspecto de un escapulario?
Sí, tuvo el aspecto de un escapulario, además nosotros en casa de mis padres toda la vida rezábamos el escapulario.
Yes, she said when the Blessed Virgin first appeared with a scapular, she realized the first time that it was a scapular because it looked somewhat like a scapular. And they had already been familiar with the scapular in their own family life because they'd always worn it and had it in their family life before. So she realized that was a scapular when she had it, you know, there.
Very good. Did Our Lady ever speak to you about it? Did she ever explain the significance of the scapular?
La Virgen habló del escapulario, dijo algo, por ejemplo.
Oh, sí, dijo que era muy importante llevar el escapulario.
Yes, she said that was the Blessed Virgin said it was very important to wear the scapular. It was important, so she did explain that much. That was important.
In other words, she did more than, she said something about it, she did more than just wear it.
Yes, she made a comment saying it was important to wear. That's what she was saying.
Can you describe the scapula the Virgin wore, had on her wrist?
Había como un monte en una parte y una cruz, yo creo.
So there was like a mountain on it, and one part had like a cross on it. ¿Y fue algo más?
Es que no me fijaba yo en esas cosas.
She said that she didn't really
notice. Yo sé que era un escapulario, pero no investigaba mucho a ver lo que era.
She didn't investigate it real thoroughly. She knew it was a scapular though.
But could you tell what color the cross was?
Colors, los colores, la cruz tuvo un color.
Yo creo que la cruz era blanca y el escapulario marrón, la tela marrón.
She said it seems to her that the scapular itself was of a brown color, like a dark brown, and that the cross was white. The cruz fue como blanca, like a white cross. It seems to her that way, you know, that it was that color.
Can she remember what color the mountain was?
The mountain, la montaña, el monte, tuvo color.
Pues algo color tenía, a lo mejor sería como crema. abajo.
She said it had some sort of color, a little bit different to it, like a cream color. A cream color would be like a light brown. It was a different color because to be distinct.
Now, isn't it true that Our Lady did not wear the scapular when she carried the infant Jesus? But how did she hold him? Did she hold him then with both hands?
Es verdad que la Virgen no tuvo escapular con el niño Jesús.
Cuando venía el niño Jesús, no.
Yeah, she says that when she came to Christ child, she did not have a scapular with her. Does his father ever turn that on?
Do you want to turn on?
That records for the movie.
When Jacinta was describing Our Lady's crown, I had also asked if she could describe the infant's crown.
Oh yeah, the infant's crown. ¿Y el niño Jesús tuvo corona también? ¿O no recuerdas?
No recuerdo.
She doesn't remember if he had a crown or not.
No recuerdo.
¿No recuerdas?
No.
¿Era una corona pequeña?
No recuerdo.
Pero recuerdas al niño Jesús.
Al niño Jesús sí que le recuerdo, pero no recuerdo la corona.
She says she remembers the Christ child, but she doesn't remember exactly if he had a crown on. That detail, you know. So, but she remembers seeing.
Igual no la traía, no
So
sé.
it's possible that he wasn't wearing one. I don't know. She was saying she didn't remember that detail, but she does remember him. She remembers him though.
How did the Blessed Mother hold the infant Jesus when she didn't have?
Oh yeah. ¿Cómo llevó la Virgen en su brazo el niño Jesús? ¿En su brazo, mano o cómo?
Pues así lo traía. Ay.
¿En un brazo o dos brazos o cómo?
No, yo lo tenía en un brazo y el otro así. No lo traía con los dos, no, lo traía con uno solo así. Esto así.
It seemed like it seems that the Blessed Virgin had this child in one arm. It was
Just
small.
one arm.
It was the baby, you know, baby
Sí.
Jesus.
Nosotros lo cogíamos con las dos. Así.
Says she and the other girls held it with two hands, you know, in both arms. You know, they'd be more careful, but you know, with the Virgin, you know, it was just like one arm because it was the baby, you know, baby Jesus.
But how would she? She didn't have the scapular, but what would she be doing with her other? Like if she had the infant like this, what would she do with
con el
her
otro brazo si no tuvo escapulario allí con el niño Jesús?
Es que yo no recuerdo eso, si lo tenía con los dos. Son detalles que yo no me fijaba en esto.
It says that those are details that she didn't really pay that much attention to. For example, when the Christ child was there, her attention was in him. You know, it wasn't what the other arm had. Es posible entonces tuvo escapulario.
Pues no lo sé, si sería ahora me fijaría más, pero de 12 años yo no me
She's
fijaba.
saying that maybe it is possible that the scapular was in her other hand at the time, but she didn't notice it. Because she was saying before that she wasn't, she didn't think it was, but it was that she didn't notice it there, you know. But it's like she says now, it could have been there because her attention was looking at the Christ child at the time. But those are details that maybe at that moment had she been asked, you know, but after so many years, you know, certain details can't recall everything. You know,
Right.
especially now.
During the apparitions, you were seen presenting a missal to the Virgin to kiss. Did she only kiss the cover, or did she kiss the some of the pages?
La Virgen besó este misal cubierto encima o hojas también.
Tampoco lo recuerdo, yo no sé si se lo daba o lo abría por el centro.
Pero besó, ¿no?
Le besó sí, pero yo no sé si era por la cubierta o lo abríamos al centro.
So she remembers Blessed Virgin kissed the missal, but she's not quite sure whether, you know, it was the pages inside too or just the cover. She doesn't remember it, but she does remember the fact that she did kiss the missal.
Okay. Now the next series of questions deal with the warning and the 2 nights of the screams. On the 2 nights of screams, you saw visions of the future conditional chastisement that will come to mankind if we do not change after the warning and miracle. Did you also see the warning?
Estos 2 noches de gritos fueron apariciones del futuro del castigo y cosas, y también se vio algo del castigo, del viso también.
Pero yo de eso no prefiero no hablar.
It was about that subject. She says she prefers not to speak about it.
Okay.
Porque nada más lo único en eso era lo que nos decía era que teníamos que pedir mucho y rezar mucho para el mundo.
She remembers.
Pero ella no nos mandó decir, pues decir lo que estoy viendo.
Yeah, she said that So what she remembers was that the Blessed Virgin said it's very important to pray about that whole, affair that is to come. But she said that the Blessed Virgin didn't order them or tell them that they should publish or speak about all the details of what they saw, for the future there concerning the chastisement and the warning. So she said she prefers not to speak about it because she wasn't told to speak about it, and therefore feels that perhaps she shouldn't reveal some of these details about the future.
But although there have been things that, for example, I know Mary Loli has spoken about what she saw during the chastisement. But my question was, though, did they actually see the warning? I'm not asking if it's something that she can't speak about, but the question is, did she actually see
it or hear about it from the Virgin? Pues su pregunta es que no es hablar de los detalles, pero esta cosa de aprender del aviso fue cosa oído de la Virgen que va a venir un aviso o una cosa que estaba visto, como de visión.
Pues fue todo, porque yo creo que en ese momento todo se quedó como oscuro. Y pues, sí, no se puede, no puedo explicar eso.
Says she can't explain it very well.
Yo no sé que pasé mucho miedo.
Says remember she was very afraid at the moment, very terrifying, and she remembers that she said previously that it seemed like it was everything, like both seeing it and then also being told about it by the Blessed Virgin too at the same time. And then she remembers also everything got very dark.
Tiene que ser una cosa horrible porque teníamos mucho miedo, como que sin ver a la Virgen, no sé, es una cosa...
So you can imagine that it's a very horrible thing because, the fact that they were so terrified in what they were seeing, and at the same time seeing the Blessed Virgin, which should have taken away some of the fear that, was something very terrifying,
What about the communist tribulation? Did they see that? Did they see that in vision also?
Por ejemplo, esta cosa de la tribulación de los comunistas, el comunismo o líos, ¿han visto algo o han oído de la Virgen algo de eso? ¿Cómo fue eso? La cosa de que va a venir revolución o toda esa cosa. ¿Qué es eso?
Pues no sé.
¿No puedes decir algo? ¿Fue cosa visto o oído? ¿Qué fue? ¿Que va a venir revolución o qué?
Pues fueron las dos cosas, pero no se puede explicarlo, no sé.
She said it was the two things, meaning that they were told about it and also saw something.
Pero nos dijo que había que pedir mucho para que esas cosas no ocurrieran.
She said it was the important thing is to pray a lot in order that these things don't come, but it seems that, it has something to do with prayer. People, pray enough. And they could be avoided, but I guess if there's not enough prayer, then these things will come,
But could they tell the difference? Could Jacinta tell the difference between the chastisement and, say, the warning or this tribulation? Could they distinguish the difference between the two, since they saw both?
Pero por lo menos puedes ver la diferencia entre el castigo y el aviso, ¿no?
Es que yo más que pues el castigo es que es mucho peor que el aviso, porque el castigo es ya cuando ya no hay más remedio y el aviso es como un aviso como que te va a avisar para que no venga el castigo.
It says, you see the difference. It says that, of course, the chastisement is much more serious thing. It's tremendously much more serious because that's when there's no choice in the matter, the last resort, when it finally comes. The chastisement, of course, is a serious thing, a punishment, whereas a warning is simply just a warning, that, is much less. It's not as serious a thing as the chastisement. It's a warning. So they could distinguish between the two, experiences that they were,
In a 1979 interview, you said that during the communist tribulation, quote, it was like an invasion, unquote. Did you see scenes of this invasion?
En una entrevista antes has dicho que has visto algo como, una cosa como una invasión, que has visto como una invasión. ¿Qué fue? ¿Una invasión, revolución? ¿Qué fue esa cosa? Que has dicho que has visto una invasión?
¿Que yo que he visto?
Sí, como invasión. ¿Qué pareció? ¿Invasión? Okay.
Pues yo es que a veces confundo la inversión con la persecución.
So sometimes she confuses an invasion with the persecution. He gets the two confused sometimes. Two separate things. So, persecución y invasión, ¿no?
La persecución es cuando una persona quiere, pues cuando está luchando pero nunca llega ¿cómo se llama? A triunfar, ¿no? Pero entonces es como una lucha, pero la invasión es cuando una persona ya triunfó.
Okay, no, la invasión es cuando un ejército, soldados entran en un país y la gente va como corriendo, escapando de un ejército que viene. Esa es invasión. La persecución es cuando, por ejemplo, un grupo como comunistas hacen mal a la iglesia, cierran iglesias y ponen todo edificio. Pues como, el aspecto fue como fue, como revolución o como.
Pues era, no toda una mezcla, no sé.
It seemed like a mixture and all. Because I asked her, I said, you know, an invasion is like when, you know, soldiers come in from another country and people are running, trying to escape, you know, the invasion force coming in. That's a type of tribulation or turmoil, civil turmoil, running away. Okay, that's invasion. And persecution is, you know, when things are made difficult, like for the church. Like, for example, if the communists take over in certain countries, closing down churches, and so.
Would she rather talk about certain things than other things?
The Blessed Virgin, you mean, with the girls?
Yeah.
Would she prefer certain subjects to speak about than others? La Virgen prefería unos asuntos de hablar en vez de otros asuntos. Hay temas que ella prefería
El
hablar.
tema siempre lo más de ella era, siempre casi eran los sacerdotes.
Says the subject matter of the Blessed Virgin seemed to prefer more than other subject was the subject of priest, you know, of the priesthood and priests themselves. This was a subject that the Blessed Virgin seemed to favor most over other subjects, about the priesthood and priests in general.
Very, very significant. Did the Blessed in the first message, Our Lady asks for penance and sacrifice. What does penance and sacrifice mean to you? How do you interpret that?
La Virgen habló en el primer mensaje pidiendo sacrificio, penitencias. A ti, ¿qué significan las palabras sacrificio, penitencia?
Pues sacrificio para mí significa aceptar las cosas que no te gustan o, no sé, todas las cosas, hay muchos sacrificios.
Says for her the word sacrifice means accepting the difficult things, you know, the things that one doesn't like, to have to accept, but still accepting them against, you know, the liking, the personal liking of the person.
Did the Virgin ever indicate to her what would be a sacrifice or a penance?
La Virgen ha indicado que será un sacrificio, por ejemplo. Ella dio un ejemplo diciendo, pues, esas cosas, un sacrificio, una penitencia.
Pues en decir un sacrificio, penitencia, no, ella nada más nos, o sea, que teníamos que ser sencillas, humildes y que tenemos que ser honestas. Entonces yo no sabía lo que era eso. Y obedientes.
Son cosas que ella dijo que debe ser.
Que debíamos de ser así.
Well, the Blessed Virgin, when she said the way they should act or be, may not specifically be to the word sacrifice, but she said that they should always be simple, honest, you know, ¿qué más? Sencillas,
y obedientes.
Obedient, very important, obedient. And all this was related to sacrifice, in a sense, like a sacrifice to have to be those ways, you know. But sometimes it is a sacrifice to have those virtues, you know.
During the apparitions, the Virgin taught you to recite the rosary very slowly. Do you think she did this only because you were children who should learn to say it properly, or do you think it was an example that everyone should follow?
La Virgen enseñó el rosario a decirlo muy despacio. ¿Dio esto como un ejemplo para todos o solamente porque fueron niños?
No, era para todos, para que decía que había que pensar lo que se decía para meditarlo mejor.
Yeah, so she
para todos.
Instead, it was for everyone. The Blessed Virgin did it as an example for everybody, not just because they were children learning to do it better, but as an example for everyone in order to meditate better on the Rosary. By reciting it solely, they can meditate better, instead of doing it fast.
Okay. When you recited the Hail Mary in ecstasy, bystanders heard you use the phrase, Mother of God and our Mother in the Hail Mary. Did the Virgin ever say anything to you about using this phrase or innovation?
La Virgen, cuando ustedes han dicho esta cosa, nuestra Madre, Madre de Dios y nuestra Madre. La Virgen dijo algo sobre esto, si está bien o qué.
Oh, ella dijo que le gustaba, pero que hasta que no lo aprobaría la iglesia, que ya no decía nada.
The Blessed Virgin answered, she said she liked it, the way they said it, but on the other hand, that they should not say it until the Church approved of it. And since the Church hadn't approved of it, they actually shouldn't say it, although the Blessed Virgin did like it, personally.
Well, how did you come to say it? Did you decide beforehand, among the four of you, that you would say it that way? Or did it just come out spontaneously while you were praying in ecstasy?
¿Y cómo salió esto de decirse de la Virgen Nuestra Madre? ¿Cómo salió de repente?
De repente, porque estamos diciendo Santa María, Madre de Dios, pues era Madre de Dios y en ese momento la sentíamos Madre Nuestra.
So it just came out suddenly from them. They didn't plan it ahead of time. That as they were saying the Hail Mary, they just felt it inside of them come on them, and they just came out with them, as they were praying.
Como era una madre, pues nosotros queríamos decir, pues eres también Madre Nuestra.
They wanted to tell her, you're our mother too,
But did all four say it at the same time?
Las cuatro, ha dicho eso, salió de repente de
Yo
las
creo que
cuatro.
salió de repente así, no sé, no sé cómo fue.
So she wasn't exactly sure exactly how it happened, but she says it seems to her that it just came out, with all four of them all at once, like that, There's something...
Very interesting. Okay, I think you've already answered this question. Did the Blessed Mother say not to use that form until it was approved by the Church? So
yes,
you just answered that question.
So not to until it was approved.
Okay, when was the last time you went to Garabandal?
¿Cuándo fue la última vez?
Ya va a ser 3 años.
3 years ago.
What do you think of the village today as compared to what it was during the time of the apparitions?
¿Y qué piensas del pueblo comparado hoy día como de antes, antes del tiempo de apariciones?
Pues me gustaba mucho antes porque era más sencillo, pero pues...
¿Te gustó más antes?
Más antes sí, porque era más sencillo y como más espiritual también.
She said she liked it better before the way it was because it was more, the people were simpler and more spiritual, And now it doesn't seem to be quite as simple, it's not as spiritual. Es más como del mundo.
Sí, pero sí todo me gusta.
She says, now it's more worldly, but on the other hand, she still likes it because it's her hometown,
The visionaries to see a vision of the Sacred Heart at Garabandal. When you reflect on that vision, what comes to your mind first?
Tú fuiste la única para ver a Sagrado Corazón. ¿Qué piensas cuando recuerdas eso?
Pues pienso, lo admito más, ¿cómo se dice? Cuando ves una cosa, más sensación, lo tengo como más grabado que la Virgen.
Well, she says that she remembers this better than the apparition of the Blessed Virgin herself, that this made a bigger impression of seeing the Sacred Heart, and that, it's of course a more important thing to her. ¿Y qué piensas de él?
Pues no sé, no pienso porque no me dijo nada, nada más me miró como una cosa como diciendo, ay, como estoy contigo, estaré contigo, no sé. Como una mirada de amores, no sé lo
so
que...
he had like a look of love on his face, and therefore, she had the feeling that, although he didn't say anything personally to her, her feeling was, I am with you, and I will be with you, And so when she thinks of it, she has this same feeling that, I will be with you, I am with you. And so that's the way, the type of feeling or thought that she has,
Fue muy distinto a la Virgen.
So it was very different, though, than the apparitions of the Blessed Virgin, in that sense.
Okay. What thoughts come to your mind first?
Y cuando ¿Recuerdas las apariciones de la Virgen en San Miguel? ¿Qué pensamiento?
Oh, sí.
¿Piensas de la Virgen y las apariciones de la Virgen en San Miguel? ¿Qué piensas?
¿Cómo que piensas?
Bueno, ¿qué es el primer sentimiento o pensamiento?
Pues el primer pensamiento es eso. Yo pienso que ¿por qué me escoge a mí?
So her first thought when she recalls this apparition, she said, "Why did they choose me, instead of somebody else for this?" That's her first thought, her feeling. Why me? Okay.
Are you aware that something is supposed to happen that will cause most people to stop believing in Garabandal? Do you know what that is? What that something is?
Sabes que va a pasar una cosa que la gente que cree en Garabandal va a dejarlo, no va a creer más. ¿Sabes de esa cosa or no sabes nada de eso?
No sé nada de eso.
She said she doesn't know anything about that
pasará.
particular point. Reunite. ¿Y dijo cuándo?
Ay, no, pues no nos dijo que pidiéramos.
She said she didn't say exactly when, but I said to pray for it.
Did she indicate if that meant the Protestants and the Catholics, or did that include like the Orthodox and the Catholic?
Dijo que iglesias, por ejemplo, iglesias protestantes o ortodoxas o otras religiones o...
Todas que se unirían a la católica.
She said all would reunite into the Catholic Church, all the other churches.
Now that's important. She said all would come into the Catholic Church.
Come into it. Reunite. Todos van a entrar dentro de la iglesia.
Sí, ella nada más decía a la iglesia católica, no nombraba a las otras.
She said into the Catholic Church. She didn't name specifically the names of the other churches, but she said all the churches would come into the Catholic Church. Todos van a entrar dentro de la iglesia católica.
Dentro de la iglesia católica. Pues nada más ella nos hablaba de la iglesia católica, no nos hablaba de las otras iglesias.
Sí, pero dijo las palabras, las otras iglesias van a entrar a la iglesia católica, ¿no? Que dijo que hay otras iglesias, ¿no?
No dijo nada, ella no ponía nada de otros, y les decía la humanidad solamente va a haber una iglesia. Pero no
por toda la humanidad.
Sí,
y solo la iglesia católica.
Sí, pero no decía de esto, porque ella nunca criticaba a nadie.
Okay, fine. The way it was worded, the best version said it says all humanity would be within one church, the Catholic Church. That's the way it was worded. All humanity. She didn't name any other church. She didn't criticize anybody. She didn't say anything. She just said all humanity would be, within one church, Catholic Church. This is similar to the prophecies of some of the saints too.
So did she say within one church or within the Catholic Church?
Oh, within the Catholic Church. She said it would be just one church only, and would be the Catholic Church.
And it would be the Catholic Church.
Yes, the Catholic Church.
And the Blessed Mother definitely used that word católico.
Dijo la Iglesia Católica.
Católica, sí.
Yeah, she said the word Catholic Church, and all mankind, toda la humanidad, all mankind would be.
Pero que había que pedir mucho.
No, but she said also it's necessary also to pray towards this intention too. But she said it would happen. It would take time. It will happen.
Did she say indicate when?
No ha dicho cuándo, no.
No, nada más en nosotros está. Pues si pedimos más, pues más rápido.
Más rápido. It says we should pray towards it, but by praying more, prayer can happen quicker. Not as much prayer happen later, but it would happen. They're saints, es importante.
Sí, muy importante. Como ahora lo quieren quitar.
So the best version,
importante.
The best version said confession is very important. The question says the best version speak about sacrament of reconciliation.
Yes.
Confession. So he said yes, it was very important. Instead of saying now that there are people who want to do away with it, just get rid of it. But it is a very important sacrament.
Did the Virgin ever indicate how often people should go to them?
La Virgen ha dicho deben ir a menudo o cuánto, o no dijo cuántas veces deben ir a la confesión.
Pues eso depende. Pero dijo que era muy importante porque es pues reconocer que has pecado y entonces te da un sacramento para ponerte más fuerte.
Best version, as far as you remember, didn't indicate exactly how often they should go, but it said it was very important that it should go when necessary, and that it's important to recognize within oneself that they had sinned in order to make an effort not to do so, to improve oneself, to recognize.
Jacinta has mentioned once before that she had a dream where she saw people taking communion in the hand.
Yes.
Was this dream? Was it something that she thought was bad? Did she have the understanding that this was a good thing, a bad thing, or just something that was going to happen within the church?
Cuando tú dices ese sueño, ¿Qué pensaste de la comunión en la mano? ¿Qué va a pasar? ¿Eso es cosa buena, cosa mala?
Cosa mala, yo pensé. Como
Ajá.
que no se daba respeto a la Sagrada Comunión.
Cosa mala. She felt, when she had this dream, she felt it was it seemed kind of bad to her at the time because it seemed like you weren't giving as much respect to the Holy Communion. And she had mentioned before it was at the beginning of the
Como
apparitions.
miedo me dio, no
Yeah,
sé.
it kind of scared her. She said she had this dream at the beginning of the apparitions in summer of 1961, you know, before any of this was discussed. And it was like a prophetic dream, a prophecy, because she saw people there receiving communion in the hand as if it were approved of already by the church, you know, and people doing it. And but she didn't like it because to her it was less respect for the Blessed Sacrament. So to her it seemed like something that wasn't good. But
And you, when you went up to communion in this dream, they wanted to give you communion in the hand.
You know, sueño, tú fuiste allí para recibir communion, queriendo dar communion.
Sí, no la quise.
Yeah, in a dream she dreamed that they wanted to give her communion in the hand, but she didn't want it in the hand.
Pues no la cogí.
She didn't take it
En
in
ese
the hand.
momento desperté.
And then she woke up at that moment, but she refused to take it in the hand. And she woke up at that moment.
Sí.
But the interesting thing is the dream happened in the summer of 1961 at a time when there was no discussion yet about having communion in the hand, and she had never heard of it. And she had told her mother the dream and told several other people, and they said, oh, this seems a very bad dream, a great scandal. How could they say that the church would approve of communion in the hand, giving it out to everyone in the hand, and less respect? But it came true. Like many other things she has dreamed has come true afterwards, like, you know.
It must be interesting in the dream, is that?
Pardon? Well, no, I think it's a very important.
Some of the dreams that Jacinta has had.
Yes. Well, yeah, it's really surprising, you know. There's been some dreams that they're like prophecies of things that are going to happen. And I remember the day my father died, that morning, Jacinta told me that she had a dream that my father was going to die suddenly, and he had never had anything wrong with himself. And later that day, it was on a Sunday, he went to Mass and Communion, and a few hours later he was at home, he had a heart attack and died suddenly that same day. So it was the same day that Jacinta told me that in the dream she saw my father was going to die suddenly, and it happened later that same day, and we didn't tell anyone about it. And it was such a shock and surprise because my father was only 60 years old, and he was still, you know, working, he was very active, and he had no health problems that we knew of. And so it was like a warning to prepare us in a way. It was like an act of mercy from God to show what was going to happen. And there have been other activities and things that Jacinta has seen, like for the future, and they've happened. You know, usually they pertain to family members or to friends, and certain things that were normally kept hidden, then Jacinta would see them and say, well, this is going to happen, and she saw it in a dream. And then later, a few months later, the events would turn out exactly as she had described, as if she had seen them, you know. And it seems like a gift from God, and it's something that's very beautiful. It shows that God shows concern in our own personal lives, and it's sort of like a preparation for things that happen, and a little bit of a message too. And it's like a grace from God, so I think it's worth mentioning, you know, that these things happen too, which are very nice. But of course God, I think, gives everybody something, you know. If they don't receive one thing, they'll receive something else from God. So He's very generous in giving, you know, gifts and talents and so forth, and He has something for everyone, you know. But,
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
¿Cuántos hermanos?
Hermanos?
Ocho.
There's 8 children altogether.
How old would they be now?
¿Cuántos años tienen? ¿Son mayores? Or?
Sí, porque yo soy la séptima.
She's number 7, you know, the second to the last, so they're all older, except for one. They're all older than her.
And what are they doing now?
¿Y qué hacen? Están en España.
Todos están en España, menos solo que está en Nueva York.
She says they're all in Spain working, except there's one in New York that works there in New York. So,
do you like living here in California?
¿Te gusta vivir aquí en California? La vida es un sacrificio, ¿no?
No, o sea, no sé.
Sí, la verdad es un sacrificio.
Me gustaría más vivir en España, pero pues tengo que estar aquí.
She says she would prefer to live in Spain, but she has to be here. So it's something of a sacrifice. It's not really a luxury, you know. Although California is a nice place, it's always a sacrifice. To be far from home is a sacrifice. From one's home country, one's a menudo hablar por teléfono o qué?
Sí, pues a lo mejor una vez al mes, pero una vez estoy casi 2 horas.
She says
A ver, después la cuenta.
sometimes he calls as often as once a month because they're on the phone together, and sometimes they talk as long as 2 hours. Sometimes, yeah, well, with her, with Loli too.
Sí, pero yo la que llamo. Y ella venga a hablar.
So she
You're
calls.
making the call. You're paying for it.
Well, they call too, but you know.
Cuando estoy triste o así, pues quiero.
When she feels sad or a little bit depressed and likes to talk with her friends, she calls them.
How is Jacinta